Have you ever walked past a man sleeping in an old car and thought, another life failure? Today, I'm going to tell you the story of Marcus Chen, a man everyone ignored, who smelled bad, who was kicked out of parking lots, but who was hiding a secret that would forever change his life and the lives of millions of people. It was a cold December night in 2019. Marcus was huddled on the back seat of his 2003 Honda Civic with more than 300,000 kilometers on it. His only belongings fit into 2 plastic bags, but in his hands there was something no one expected, a broken laptop he had found in the trash behind a tech company. And inside that laptop, Marcus would discover something the Millionaire executives had accidentally thrown away, something worth $50 million. But hold on, Marcus's story didn't begin in that car. To understand how he ended up there, I need to take you back 3 years when he had everything: a $2 million mansion, luxury cars, and a company bringing in $500,000 a month. What happened? How does someone lose it all like that? What you're about to find out will shock you, because Marcus's fall wasn't an accident, it was sabotage. Marcus Chen was only 28 years old and owned TechFlow Solutions, a company that provided automation for restaurants. A mansion with an ocean view, a Porsche in the garage, an $80,000 watch on his wrist. He had turned a simple idea into an empire, making $500,000 a month. At that time, Marcus was arrogant. He flaunted his wealth on social media, humiliated employees, and believed he was untouchable. But someone was watching his every move, someone he would never suspect. David Park, his best friend since college and a minority partner with 20% of the company. David had always been the brain behind operations, while Marcus was the face of the brand. But Marcus didn't know that David harbored a quiet resentment. It all started when Marcus refused to increase David's stake in the company. "You're just the programmer," Marcus said in a meeting. "I'm the visionary." Those words sealed his fate. David smiled and said, "Sure, Marcus, you're right." But behind that smile, he had already decided he was going to destroy Marcus Chen completely. And he had the perfect plan. David Park was not just an ordinary programmer. He was a tech genius with access to all of TechFlow's systems. And for 6 months, he executed the most elaborate corporate sabotage plan you've ever heard. First move, David began to introduce small bugs into the company's software. Nothing obvious, just glitches that would show up months later. Restaurants started having problems, but gradually, almost imperceptibly. Second move, he created fake accounts and began spreading negative reviews about TechFlow on specialized forums, always using VPNs and fictional identities. The company's reputation began to crack slowly. Third move, David started contacting TechFlow's large clients, posing as a competitor, offering better and cheaper solutions. He knew every weakness of the very product he had helped create. But the final blow was brilliant and cruel. David discovered that Marcus was evading taxes. Not a huge amount, but enough to cause trouble. And he had all the evidence because it was he who had altered the financial reports to make Marcus unknowingly appear to be evading taxes. In December 2017, David handed a USB drive to the Federal Revenue Service containing all the evidence of Marcus's tax evasion. And he waited for the chaos to begin.
6 a.m., January 15th, 2018. Marcus woke up to federal revenue agents knocking on the door of his mansion. "Search and seizure warrant for tax evasion," said the lead agent. Marcus didn't understand a thing. They took every computer, every document, even Marcus's personal cell phone. The local press showed up. Someone had leaked the information. The headlines were devastating. "Young entrepreneur accused of evading millions." Within 48 hours, Marcus lost 70% of his clients. Within a week, the banks froze his accounts. Within a month, he had to sell the mansion to pay lawyers and fines. And David? He was always there, offering support and advice. "Don't worry, Marcus," David would say. "We'll get through this together." But behind that sympathetic smile, David was already negotiating to buy Marcus's shares for a ridiculous price. Marcus sold 60% of his stake in the company to David for just 200,000 reais, shares that were worth over 2 million. He needed the money for lawyers. David pretended to resist. "I can't accept. You're selling too cheap." But in the end, he agreed to help his friend. December 2018, Marcus had lost everything: the company, the house, the car, his dignity. And he would soon discover he hadn't yet hit rock bottom. The worst was still to come. With only 40% of the company left and a mountain of debt, Marcus fought to rebuild his life. He lived in a rented one-bedroom apartment and worked 16-hour days trying to save what was left of TechFlow. But David wasn't finished. He needed 100% of the company to execute the final stage of his plan. And for that, Marcus had to lose absolutely everything. March 2019. David approached Marcus with a generous offer. "Marcus, you're destroyed. I'll buy your remaining 40% for 300,000. It's more than it's worth on the market right now." Marcus hesitated. He knew the company was worth much more. But then David played his final card. "Marcus, I need to tell you something. The Federal Revenue Service is going to run a new audit on the company. I discovered there are more irregularities they missed in the first investigation. If they find them, you could go to jail." Marcus panicked. He couldn't endure another investigation, another scandal, more humiliation. With tears in his eyes, he signed over his last 40% of the company for 300,000 reais. David comforted his friend. "You made the right decision, Marcus." 2 weeks later, David announced the sale of TechFlow to an American multinational for $25 million. He had bought 100% of the company for just 500,000 reais and sold it for $25 million. Profit? 2,400%. But do you know what the cruelest part was? There was never a second federal revenue investigation. David had lied about everything. June 2019. Marcus had even lost his rented apartment. The 300,000 reais were gone, spent on debts, lawyers, and basic expenses. With no professional references, after all, he was a known tax evader. No one would hire him. He tried basic jobs: delivery driver, waiter, security guard. But the internet never forgets. Someone would always recognize him. "Hey, aren't you that crooked businessman?" Marcus would be fired within days. In August, he slept on the street for the first time. December came, and he was completely destroyed. No money, no prospects, no hope. The 2003 Honda Civic he managed to buy with his last reais was his home. Marcus went 3 days without eating. He drank water from public restrooms, showered at gas stations. The man who once owned a mansion now dug through trash looking for food. And David? He was living in Miami, flaunting on social media the life he had bought with the money stolen from Marcus. He posted photos of yachts, luxury cars, always with the caption, "Hard work pays off." One night, Marcus thought about ending it all. He was exhausted, humiliated, destroyed. But then, something happened that would change his life forever. Something David could never have predicted. In the trash of a tech company, Marcus found a broken laptop. And inside it, he would discover the secret that would turn his revenge into the greatest comeback in Brazilian business history.
December 2020. Marcus was scavenging for food in company dumpsters when he saw something unusual: a MacBook Pro discarded by DataCorp, one of the largest tech companies in the country. The screen was broken, but Marcus knew computers. He took the laptop to his car and, using an old monitor he had found weeks earlier, managed to turn it on. What he saw shocked him. The laptop belonged to Helena Vasquez, former CTO of DataCorp, fired due to cost-cutting measures. But Elena had forgotten to delete the files, and those files contained DataCorp's most secret project. The Phoenix Project, a revolutionary AI algorithm capable of predicting consumer behavior with 97% accuracy. This algorithm was worth billions, but DataCorp had paused development, deeming it too risky. Marcus read everything for 3 consecutive nights: codes, reports, tests, financial projections. He realized he had in his hands the most advanced consumer predictive technology in the world. But there was more. In Elena's emails, Marcus discovered that DataCorp had stolen the technology from a startup called Predict AI, which went bankrupt after the theft. Elena had all the evidence of the corporate appropriation. Marcus smiled for the first time in months. He had not only a billion-dollar technology, but also proof of corporate crime against one of the largest companies in the country. It was his chance for revenge and redemption. But using this information would be risky. If discovered, Marcus could go to jail. He needed a perfect plan, and that's when he had the most brilliant idea of his life. Marcus spent the next 2 months studying every line of the Phoenix Code, sleeping in his car, surviving on scraps, dedicating 18 hours a day to fully understand the technology. By February 2020, he had his genius idea. He wouldn't steal the code, he would rebuild it from scratch, making it better. He would use the knowledge he gained to develop something even more powerful, but completely legal. Marcus contacted Elena Vasquez through LinkedIn. He lied, saying he was a freelance developer interested in her previous projects. Elena, bitter from being fired, agreed to meet him. At the meeting, Marcus went straight to the point. "I know about Phoenix. I know DataCorp stole your technology from Predict AI. I want to make things right." Elena was shocked, but Marcus continued. "You want a revenge? So do I. Let's partner. You bring the technical knowledge, I bring the motivation to take down giants." Elena agreed, but there was one condition. They needed money to develop the project. Marcus had none, not even to eat, let alone fund a startup. That's when Elena suggested something risky. "I know an angel investor who hates DataCorp. He's been harmed by them before, but it's dangerous. He demands 50% of any company he funds." Marcus smiled. After losing everything to David, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. But Marcus didn't know that this investor had ties to organized crime. Accepting his money would mean entering a game far more dangerous than he imagined. March 2020. Elena took Marcus to meet Viktor Kozlov, a Russian billionaire living in Brazil. The meeting was in an office atop a skyscraper in Sao Paulo. Marcus had never seen so much luxury, nor so much power. Viktor was different. He spoke softly, but everyone trembled in his presence. "So you want to destroy DataCorp?" Viktor asked with a thick accent. "Interesting. They owe me $50 million from a failed deal." Marcus presented his idea: create an AI algorithm even more powerful than Phoenix, capture all of DataCorp's clients, and then sue the company for intellectual property theft. Viktor smiled. "I like men who think big. I'll invest $2 million. You'll have 6 months to deliver a functional product. If you succeed, I'll invest another $10 million. If you fail..." Viktor didn't finish the sentence, but the silence was terrifying. Marcus signed the contract knowing the risks. Viktor was not just an investor. He was a dangerous man with dark connections. But he was Marcus's only chance to escape the gutter and take revenge on David. April 2020. For the first time in almost 2 years, Marcus slept in a bed. Viktor had rented an office and an apartment for the new company, Predict Max Technologies. Marcus and Elena worked 20-hour days. The code evolved rapidly. Marcus had learned so much during his months on the street that his understanding of human behavior became unique. He understood desperation, need, survival, elements no algorithm could capture. By August 2020, they had something revolutionary. But testing it would mean hacking the systems of major companies to collect data. Marcus was about to cross a line of no return.
August 2020. Marcus and Elena had the most advanced algorithm in the world, but they needed real data to test it. And that data was on the servers of the country's largest companies, including Data Corp. Elena hesitated. Marcus, this is a crime. If we get caught, we'll go to jail. But Marcus was obsessed. They stole from you first. We're just taking back what's ours. Hunger and humiliation had transformed Marcus. The first intrusion targeted Data Corp's network. In 2 hours, they extracted terabytes of consumer behavior data. The algorithm processed everything and made a shocking prediction. Data Corp would lose 40% of its clients in the next 6 months. Marcus laughed bitterly. The algorithm had predicted exactly what he was planning to do. But to ensure accuracy, they needed to test it on other companies. That's when they hacked TechFlow, the company David had stolen from him. The TechFlow data revealed something disturbing. David was manipulating the numbers, evading taxes for real, the exact crime he had falsely accused Marcus of. But there was more. David was selling TechFlow's client data to competing companies. It was a multi-million-dollar industrial espionage scheme. Marcus now had evidence of crimes that could send David to prison for decades. September 2020. PredictMax's algorithm was functioning perfectly, predicting behavior with 98% accuracy, better than the original Phoenix. Victor was impressed and released another $5 million. Marcus was ready for revenge. But Victor had other plans for the technology, plans that would make Marcus question whether taking that dirty money had been the right choice. Part 11. October 2020. PredictMax was growing rapidly. Large companies began hiring their predictive analytics services. Marcus had finally escaped poverty and was making millions, but a discovery would change everything. Elena accidentally found hidden files on the company's server. Victor wasn't just investing in PredictMax. He was using the algorithm to manipulate elections, influence financial markets, and even track political opponents. The algorithm Marcus had created to predict consumer behavior was being used to control people. Victor sold this data to authoritarian governments, criminal organizations, and companies seeking to manipulate public opinion. Marcus, we've created a monster, Elena said in panic. Our algorithm is being used to spy on citizens, influence elections, even target journalists. Marcus was shocked. His quest for revenge had created a weapon of social control. Victor discovered they had found the files. In a tense meeting, he was blunt. You created something at Evolutionary. Now I control it. Any attempt to betray me will have permanent consequences. Marcus realized he had left one prison only to enter an even worse one. Victor was not just dangerous, he was an international criminal using Marcus's technology for global crimes. That night, Marcus made the riskiest decision of his life. He would destroy Victor and regain control of his creation. But to do so, he would need the help of his greatest enemy, David Park. Marcus was about to make an impossible alliance, but would David agree to help the man who had destroyed him? And more importantly, could Marcus trust the one who had betrayed him? Part 12. November 2020. Marcus discovered where David lived in Miami through the hacked data. He flew there with a desperate plan: convince his greatest enemy to help him against Viktor Kozlov. David opened the door to his mansion and was shocked. Marcus, how? You should be starving on the streets. Marcus smiled bitterly. Surprise, David. We need to talk.
Marcus went straight to the point. "I know everything, David. I know you sabotaged me, that you're evading millions, selling client data. I have evidence I could send you to prison for 20 years. David paled. "But I didn't come to blackmail you," Marcus continued. "I came to propose a partnership. There's someone far more dangerous than either of us, and he's using my technology for global crimes. If we don't stop Viktor Kozlov, both of us are dead." Marcus explained the entire situation. Predict Max, Viktor, global manipulation. David realized the gravity. "Marcus, you have no idea who Viktor Kozlov is. He has connections with the Russian mafia, Mexican cartels, corrupt politicians. No one messes with him and survives." "That's why I need you," Marcus said. "You're a tech genius. You know banking systems. You have contacts in the black market. Together, we can destroy Viktor and save our lives." David hesitated. Helping Marcus meant admitting his crimes and risking himself against the most dangerous man he knew. But the evidence Marcus had could destroy him anyway. "We have one condition," David finally said. "If we survive this, all evidence against me disappears, and we split any Predict Max profits 50-50. Marcus smiled. "Deal. But first, let's save the world from our own creation."
December 2020. Marcus and David were working together for the first time in 3 years. The plan was audacious. Destroy Viktor from within, using Predict Max's own technology against him. David discovered that Viktor was laundering money through cryptocurrencies, using the Predict Max algorithm to predict fluctuations and make billions. "If we can sabotage the predictions," David said, "Viktor will lose fortunes and his criminal partners will kill him." The plan had 3 phases. First, Marcus would return to Brazil pretending loyalty to Viktor. Second, they would introduce a virus into the algorithm that would produce false predictions. Third, they would leak all of Viktor's criminal information to international authorities. But there was one problem: Elena. She had discovered the plan and threatened to reveal everything to Viktor. "You're going to get us killed," Elena shouted. "Viktor doesn't forgive betrayal. He will torture you to death." Marcus had to make the hardest choice of his life: convince Elena to stay silent or silence her forever. "Elena, you helped me when I had nothing. Now I need you to trust me one more time." Elena looked into Marcus's eyes and saw determination. "You've changed, Marcus. The street made you dangerous." Marcus replied coldly. "Viktor made me. Now he will pay for it." January 2021. Marcus returned to Brazil. Viktor greeted him with suspicion. "Where have you been, Marcus?" "Researching new markets," Marcus lied. "I have ideas to expand globally." Viktor smiled, unaware that he was sealing his own fate. The trap was set. In 48 hours, Viktor's empire would begin to collapse. But Marcus didn't know Viktor had discovered the alliance with David and had already taken measures to eliminate them. January 23, 2021, 3 a.m. Marcus was in Predict Max's office inserting the final virus into the algorithm when lights turned on. Viktor was there with 2 armed men. "Thought I wouldn't find out, Marcus." Viktor smiled maliciously. "I intercepted all your communications with David Park. I know your pathetic plan. Too bad David won't see the outcome." Viktor showed a photo on his phone. David, bloody, in Miami. "You killed David?" Marcus shouted. "Not yet," Viktor replied. "But he's being persuaded to reverse all the changes you made to the algorithm. Afterwards, both of you will disappear permanently." Marcus pretended to despair, but actually smiled. Viktor had fallen into the trap. David was safe in a bunker in Miami, and the photo was staged. The virus had been running for 12 hours, and the algorithm had already begun producing false predictions. At that moment, Viktor's phone rang frantically. It was his criminal partners. "Viktor, we lost $200 million! Your predictions were all wrong!"
Victor realized he had been deceived. Marcus activated a device Elena had planted. All of Victor's criminal information was automatically sent to the FBI, Interpol, the Brazilian Federal Police, and journalists worldwide. In seconds, Victor became the most wanted criminal on the planet. Victor shouted in rage and pointed a gun at Marcus, but it was too late. Sirens of the federal police surrounded the building. Marcus had used the algorithm to predict exactly when and where Victor would be, alerting the authorities. In a desperate move, Victor tried to escape, but Elena blocked the exit. Surprise, Victor, I never left Marcus's team. She had faked betrayal to gain Victor's trust and plant incriminating evidence. Victor was arrested, screaming, "You have no idea who you're messing with! I will destroy you!" But his threats were empty. Without money, power, or protection, he was just another captured criminal. March 2021. With Victor imprisoned and his assets confiscated, Marcus regained full control of Predictmax. The company was restructured with ethical principles, using AI only for legitimate purposes, optimizing businesses, forecasting market demand, helping NGOs. David fulfilled his part of the agreement. He returned TechFlow to Marcus, which now valued at $45 million, and publicly confessed his crimes, paying all fines and restitution. "It's the least I can do," David said, with tears in his eyes. Elena became the CTO of the new Predictmax with 25% of the shares. Marcus retained 51%, and the remaining 24% were distributed among employees. The company reached a $500 million valuation in 2 years. Marcus built a rehabilitation center for the homeless in Sao Paulo, investing $10 million of his own money. "No one should go through what I went through," he said at the inauguration. "The streets taught me that true wealth is humanity." Marcus Chen is now one of the most respected entrepreneurs in Brazil, with an estimated fortune of 800 million reais. But he never forgot the nights in the Honda Civic, the hunger, the humiliation. These memories keep him humble and determined. And the 2003 Honda Civic? Marcus keeps it in the garage of his new mansion as a memento. "This car saved me when I needed it most," he says. "It gave me shelter when the world abandoned me. I will never get rid of it." The story of Marcus Chen proves that no matter how far you fall, there is always a chance to rise again. But beware of whom you trust. And remember, sometimes the most valuable treasure is hidden in the trash others have discarded. This was the incredible story of the millionaire who slept in his car before building an empire. A story of betrayal, revenge, redemption, and proof that life can always give a second chance to those brave enough to fight for it.